In the fall of 1920, students at UC were readjusting to life without war. It had been several months since the war had ended, and the students' return to campus marked a new beginning. The campus was surrounded by woods on one side and the city on the other. Less than half of today's campus existed. At this time, it was compulsory for all male students to enroll in the ROTC program. Since many of the young men on the campus had just completed Army service, they weren't looking forward to continuing in ROTC. Many went to their commanding officers requesting that this compulsory requirement be waived. One student requesting a waiver was Ralph Van Wy. Van Wy, an engineering student, had just completed 2 years of service as an Army bandsman and also wanted out of his ROTC requirement. Instead of leaving the program as he had hoped, Commanding Officer Major Sidney Guthrie told him, "You're just the person I'm looking for." With that, Van Wy became the first director of the band. 8 engineering students participated in the first rehearsal, which was held in the basement of the engineering building. They performed that fall at UC home football games with some additional help from the local Shriners Band. Membership in the band varied from week to week as co-op students entered and left. From the beginning to the end of the season, only 40% of the original members were present, with many new members joining. When Van Wy graduated 3 years later, Associate Professor Rupert A. Anderegg remained as the advisor of the band. Since Anderegg had no musical experience, he searched for another military man to lead the band. He found Sergeant Victor Norling in Fort Thomas, Kentucky. The band remained an ROTC unit, performing at official functions while also presenting halftime shows at UC football games. The first uniforms debuted in November 1924 at the Nippert Stadium Dedication Day game. This season, the band made headquarters in the new stadium. They shared rehearsal space with a defective steam heat system which knocked so violently that at times they couldn't hear themselves play. The room also flooded on a regular basis. It should come as no surprise then that the band traveled as often as possible. They went by train and open bed truck as they accompanied the team to away football games. In the spring of 1927, the ROTC band had been around less than 7 years. 20 students organized a local honorary fraternity named Delta Mu Sigma. The purpose of this fraternity was to become a part of Kappa Kappa Psi, the national honorary fraternity. Just before summer break in 1928, Delta Mu Sigma fulfilled their purpose, becoming the 20th chapter of Kappa Kappa Psi. In the fall of 1929, the band changed from an ROTC group to a student activity for male students. Up until this time, membership in the band had exclusively been from the College of Engineering. This year, band advisor Colonel Rupert Anderegg developed Varsity Vanities, a musical review show. The first Varsity Vanities featured acts from the entire campus, including songs and skits from both faculty and students. This same year, 1929, Merrill B. Van Pelt became the 3rd director of the band. He divided his time between directing the band and his full-time job teaching instrumental music at Walnut Hills High School. Although Van Pelt started as a part-time director, he would end up staying with the UC band for 18 years. Van Pelt was a vaudeville musician, a likable person with good character. Some described him as roly-poly and a personable man with sparkle. Students worked hard to please Van, and he led them with a firm touch. His innovations brought the band into a new era as a show band, using recognizable formations in a themed performance. Before this time, the band had kept a strict military style, entering the field in block formation, performing a few marches, then exiting. But Van Pelt's vaudeville influence brought a few radical ideas. This year, the band marched and played together simultaneously for the first time, a groundbreaking innovation for marching bands. They formed a giant top hat in the end zone, which floated to the center of the field. Another popular formation was of a steamboat with a functioning paddle wheel that turned as it moved downfield, or a giant walking animal. Van Pelt was the first to use animated formations and dance steps during a halftime show.
The band sponsor was chosen by band members as an honorary position for a female student. Requirements varied, but generally depended on the talent and attractiveness of the candidate. 6 years after Julia Sale was elected as the first band sponsor in 1925, sponsors were chosen from the Mystic 13. Mystic 13 was an honorary sorority which claimed the most beautiful and high society girls on campus. Some suggest that band members chose the band sponsor from the Mystic 13 to get dates with their sorority sisters. As sponsor, a young lady would precede the band in parades and join the drum major as an official representative. In 1941, the all-male band shared the spotlight with its first women performers. The four dancing majorettes brought a fairer side, adding color and baton work to an already dazzling band. But the recent growth and success of the band would be cut short when the United States entered the Second World War. Life on campus changed drastically at this time. In the fall of 1942 and the next 2 seasons, there were no varsity football games and no halftime shows for a marching band to perform. However, the band played on. It combined concerts with the Conservatory Symphonic Band, formal military formations, and war rallies. As many young men temporarily left UC, the size of the band decreased. In the fall of 1944, only 2 bandsmen were left from the previous season. The few remaining members were GIs in the Army's Specialized Training Program, ASTP. Out of desperation, women and civilians were accepted into the band on a temporary basis to supplement the soldiers. The women soon outnumbered the men. One of the 80 out-of-town girls who marched that year remembers that they waived her audition, coercing females to join. When the war finally ended, many veterans did not return to the band, presumably because they had already done all the marching they could ever want to do. Those who did return brought a lighter attitude and a looser feel. To make up the difference in numbers, women were still actively recruited, but with some protest from the male members. According to the band constitution, the group was for men only. It wasn't until the fall of 1946 that the women of the band, plus a few enlightened male members, felt that the band should remain co-ed. In 1947, the Constitution was changed to allow membership based on merit and ability.
Put on.